I'm at a crossroads right now. So, right now, I just got home from Funnel Hacking Live. And let me tell you all about it. It was great. And I was actually recording while I was there. So, the past few episodes, I think the past 4 episodes, I recorded at Funnel Hacking Live. So, in Florida, I was at a trip and it was just a trip with me and my friend Franklin. And we went to Funnel Hacking Live, got a lot of information. And we brought home this one book called 10x is easier than 2x. And inside this book, it's basically exactly what the name says. 10x is easier than 2x. So the 10x mindset is essentially, let me explain this first. Throughout your life on normal living, you're 80% of the things that you're doing right now, if you're just an average person, normal person, 80% of the things that you're doing are comfortable. They're old. They're like habits. They're comfortable for you to do. And then the 20% are things that are moving you forward, things that are moving you towards your goals. And this 10x, so that's the 2x mindset. That's basically you marginally improving, and that's what SMART goals are. It's basically 2x is like improving a little bit at every moment, like improving a tiny amount and then going for small goals. And the issue with that is you can achieve a small goal through many different means. Like there are thousands of ways to earn $100,000, but there's a very few amount of ways to earn $1,000,000. That's pretty much like the premise. So imagine like 3 lines on top of each other, 3 horizontal lines that are stacked on top of each other with spaces in between them. So this is the story that he gave. Dr. Benjamin Hardy, he actually spoke at the event. And the story he gave was his son is a tennis player and he's really good. And his coach asked him, why not go pro? And so his son was like, I don't know. I want to go to college. Well, no, his coach asked, what are your goals? And then his son said, I want to go to college. And then the coach was like, why not go pro? And then the son was like, I'm not sure. So then, in the car after that talk with the coach, Dr. Hardy's son and himself were talking, and Dr. Hardy was asked, so do you think you're on the right path for, like, are you going to be able to go to college? And his son was like, yeah, maybe. And then he was like, do you want to go to pro? Do you want to go pro? And he was like, yeah. And then he was like, well, do you think you're on the right path for pro? Do you think you're doing enough? And then his son was like, no. And it's because there are thousands of ways, thousands of pathways to get to the college level. So imagine the 3 lines again, the horizontal lines all stacked on top of each other with spaces in between. On the bottom level, the bottom line is labeled where you're at right now, like current life. And then the middle line is labeled college. And then the top line is labeled professional. So basically there are hundreds of thousands of arrows pointing up towards that college level. Like there are many different pathways to get to college. If college is your goal, you can pretty much not have to worry about making drastic changes, and you don't really have to. You can basically do the majority of things you're already doing. Maybe you'll have to make a few small tweaks here and there, but for the college route, you can pretty much do what you're already doing. And the thing is, with a college, there are so many different paths to get there. So you have this thing called paralysis by analysis. So it's like you don't really know. You have too many options. So you're paralyzed by all the options. But then only like 1 or 2 arrows actually reach all the way to the pro level. So there's thousands of arrows that only stop at the middle line, the college level, but like maybe 1 or 2 arrows go all the way up to the professional level. So those arrows represent pathways. So that basically means that you can basically do anything you want to get to the college level, but there are only a few ways to get to the pro level. You pretty much only have a few options or one option. So that brings me to where I started this episode, where I'm at a crossroads right now. So originally my goal was, and I'm over the past couple of weeks, I was saying that I wasn't going to tell you guys my goals, but I think it's different. So at Funnel Hacking Live, I learned, one, don't tell your big goals to small minds. So yes, don't tell your goals, your big aspirations to people with small minds. So like normal people, average people. And then another thing is, do not brag about your goal, just declare it. And I think that it's okay to declare your goal. So I'm going to be declaring my goal now. Originally, my goal was to just move to Hawaii and become a surfer. Now, originally that seemed kind of impossible for me. Now, I haven't achieved it yet, but I don't think that now I'm thinking that it's like too easy. I think that it's actually possible. So when Dr. Hardy actually wrote down, he actually, at the end of his speech of explaining all about the 10x process, he actually had us write down in our notebook our goal. And so naturally I wrote down, my goal is to move to Hawaii and surf every day. So then right when I finished writing that down, he said, again, a reminder, your goal should be so big that you would think it's impossible to achieve. And so I immediately crossed it out because I knew that it was not impossible. I knew it was possible. So, and then I was like trying to think of a different goal to write, but I realized that it wasn't going to come right away. So I kind of just let it be for then, and then stayed in the moment and listened to the next speaker. And then eventually, actually this morning is when my next goal, or actually my big goal actually came into fruition over a few days, because my original, I wanted to get the 2 comma club, which is make $1 million. That was one of my original like goals before Funnel Hacking Live. But now I want 2 comma club X, which is make $10 million. And I want to do it in 1 year. And this is an impossible goal for me. Like I have $0 in my bank account. I have a little bit more than that, but I have not made a single penny off of my business. And so that's because I didn't really have a clear goal. So now I have a clear goal, and that's like one of the first steps to the 10x process, to find your clear goal. And so what my clear goal is to move to Hawaii and become a surfer, but also live in such a way where I have the exact lifestyle that I want, and I'm never burdened by money, and I'm in the 10x or 2 comma club X, 2CCX. And that means that I have $10 million earned, and I have the house that I want, which I don't really know what house I want. I just kind of want to get a nice house, which I guess I should fix that. But so that was my goal. That came about probably yesterday or the day before. That was my new goal. So it's basically the same goal that I had before, except a little bit more lavish and a lot more like, what's the word? Just a lot more extravagant. And so this morning, actually, while I was doing my balancing. So every morning I balance on a medicine ball for like 10 minutes. And this is to help me improve my balance so I can be a better surfer when I actually get to that stage in my life. And I'm balancing on my ball this morning, and then this image pops up into my head. And it's because usually when I'm balancing, I am uh I'm visualizing me surfing. I'm kind of like imagining that I'm surfing a lot of the times when I'm balancing. So that's like a cool visualization exercise that I do. It's another thing that's a guaranteed visualization because you need to be visualizing every single day. And I don't really visualize often throughout the day. So, and there's one rule that I know is true, and it's anything that is in your morning routine is a guaranteed thing to happen every single day, which is why I have a 4 hour long morning routine. Like all of these things are guaranteed to happen every single morning. So that's why I extended my morning routine so long so I can put in more and more things to have in my morning routine. So that's why I put in visualization in my morning routine through my meditation as well as my not surfing, as well as my medicine ball balancing. But while I'm balancing on my medicine ball, I'm visualizing my surfboard, and then this image just pops up. And it's basically the same image that I see in my surfing visualization. And mind you, I can't really see when I'm visualizing. Like I'm kind of a little bit blind in the mind's eye. So I can like feel the energies of it's weird. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. That's like the best explanation I have for my visualization. So I'm like on this surfboard, and then this image pops up, and it's just the same image, except my surfboard got a new color to it. It's got a new like decal, basically like a new paint job. And so before, my surfboard was just plain. I don't really know what color it was. I didn't really imagine a color. I just imagined the board. But now my surfboard is all black, and in the middle, it has in golden colored letters 2, Club X. And that's pretty much just an all black surfboard with 2, Club X written on it. And so that is exactly what I'm visualizing now. Like that's my new goal, surfing with the 2, Club X. But that's not all. That's not all. What another thing that popped up in my head at the exact same time is one, that surfboard, but two, my swimsuit. My swimsuit was like black, all black, with on the left side, on the left leg of the swimsuit, it said 2CCX in gold font. Like it's very minimalist, but that's pretty much like my new slide. It's basically me imagining myself with the 2, Club surfboard and 2, 2, Club X surfboard and 2, Club X shorts. So I could get those before I got $10 million, but that I would never do that. That's dishonorable. So in order for me to get those, I have to get the 2, Club X. I have to make 10 mil. So that's basically my new goal. And I'm reading 10x is easier than 2x, as I just said, but I'm on probably page 80 right now, maybe like 75. And there's one thing that I realized. So this is getting back to the first thing that I said of how I'm at a crossroads right now. I'm getting to it. Right, this whole episode so far has just been context, but I'll get to where I'm at the crossroads. I'll explain that. But first I have to explain this one thing. I was absent all week last week from school. And by the way, I'm a senior in high school. And so I was absent all week last week from school to go to Florida to go to the business conference, Funnel Hacking Live. And when I come back, I'm reading this 10x is easier than 2x, and I'm realizing that you have to ditch like 80% of your old habits, old lifestyle, old people, old like actions, old schedule, everything that you're doing that's comfortable. that's holding you back, you have to ditch it. And then you have to, in order to achieve the 10x process, which is like true evolution and true growth, you have to strive for that 20x or that 20%, which is all of the new things that you're doing. So for me, the 20%, I believe, is podcasting every day, as well as just recently I started TikTok, posting 3 TikToks every day. And I haven't actually posted any yet as of recording. I just scheduled them because they're kind of linked to every episode that I record. So I basically have 3 daily lessons that I record. In my description of the podcast, this has evolved over time, but recently I'd been doing 3 kind of descriptions, or 3, what's the words? 3 lessons. So I basically have 3 daily lessons. And so I take each of those and make a video, like a short form video, like 20 to a minute long, 20 seconds to a minute long. And so I basically take those and then record that, and I post 3 TikToks every day, which they're not scheduled until 2 days from now. So right now I'm recording this on the 2nd, and it's going to go live on the 4th. And that's another thing. Over the past week, I missed 2 days of episodes. Just it was out of my control. I like travel days, and I was using my friend's computer. So there was 2 days that I missed. So I'm back at 5 episodes. Like, this is going to be my 5th episode that's scheduled. So I'm going to have to double up episodes again soon to catch up to 7. But to where I'm at the crossroads. So with that 80-20, 80%, 20% explained, another thing is he was saying that you have to dramatically like change everything. And I was thinking about this one thing, and it's this one thing that's been kind of on the back of my mind for the past couple months, honestly, since like summer break. So it's been on my mind for the past like 4 months, maybe 3 to 4 months, and it's to drop out of high school. And I'm saying this quietly because I don't want my parents to hear, because I'm in this kind of state where over the past 3 months, I've been like kind of wanting to drop out of high school. And I feel like my parents kind of know, because I have mentioned it before. I have said I should just drop out. I have said things like that, but I'm not sure if they know I'm actually serious about it. But I'm thinking about this thing. This action is on the back of my mind, and while I'm reading this book, and every single thing that he's saying that relates to 10x corresponds with me dropping out of high school. So literally nothing that I'm doing in school is 10x. Like, it's all 2x, and it's all holding me back. It's that 80% that's holding me back. And what I realize is that this morning I had this. Okay, so I hope you guys are familiar by now with the terms of transurfing called the heart and the mind. But if you're not familiar, the heart or the mind is basically what is talking to itself all day long. And the mind it's basically logical. It uses reasoning, and it like talks, it like perceives information from the outside world. And then the heart it knows things, it feels things, and it's emotional, and it's creative. And the heart actually knows everything. So basically, in most people, the heart is kind of drowned out. Like the whisperings of the heart, or the input of the heart that it's trying to help you, is drowned out. All that noise made by the heart is drowned out by the constant chatter, the inner monologue of the mind. So we don't really hear our heart that often. We have to look for it. And so I have been way more conscientious about looking for this noise, like looking for this rustle of the morning stars is what it's called, by Vadim Zeland. And I've been a lot more conscious about listening to this noise. And this morning all right, let me explain this first. There's inner tension. So whenever you're making decisions, your mind either does, or your heart either has one of three things: inner tension, which means that it's a bad decision. Like you don't want to do it. Like the heart does not want to do it. And then there's another thing is it just doesn't have any reaction. There's no tension or peace. And that's just, it just means that it's okay. It's fine. Like it's neither good nor bad. It just is. So that action is, in general, it's okay. And then there's a third one, which is inner, like, peace, like inner joy, inner bliss. And that whenever you experience that, you know that you're on the right path, right track. And so this morning I'm getting ready to go to school, and it's been over a week since I've been at school, and I'm getting ready, and the whole time I'm having this inner tension, especially while I'm biking to school. I have this inner tension. It just feels like my heart is screaming no, because at Funnel Hacking Live, we saw like 8 speakers. So there was probably like 30 speakers on there, and we saw probably like, maybe 8 is an exaggeration, but at least 4 speakers that were high school dropouts. And the majority of the speakers didn't go to college, I think. Actually, I'm not sure. But literally 4 of the speakers were high school dropouts, and they said it too. And so that's another thing. And the other thing is that when I was watching the award ceremony, like right now I'm just listing all the, like a lot more examples that is basically getting me to go deeper on this kind of decision or desire to drop out. And so we were watching this award ceremony where people are walking across the stage receiving an award, the 2 Comma Club award, which there's people that earn the 2 Comma Club award, which is 1 mil, 2 Comma Club X award, which is 10 mil, and then 2 Comma Club C award, which is anywhere between 25 to 100 mil. And I'm watching these guys, and there's like probably like 36-year-olds walk across that stage that got $1 million. 6-year-olds, like they may be smarter than me, but they're 6 years old. Like I can definitely do better than them. And like, I can definitely, if a 6-year-old can do it, I can do it, you know? And so that's another thing is like, they're not even in high school and they're already a millionaire. So that's another thing that kind of confirmed my suspicions of dropping out. And so I'm like extremely kind of inner tension, and I'm at school, and even like the last night I was talking to my mom, and I was like, this is unacceptable that or no, I was saying like I spend like 5 hours at school, and she was like, no, it's like 4 hours. And then we did the math and it was 4 hours. But then I was like, okay, but I think about school a lot outside of school. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm focusing a lot of energy and attention on it outside of school. And plus I have homework. So it's like, no, it's like I'm spending way more than 5 hours at school basically. And I was thinking like, this is unacceptable that I'm thinking about school at all. Like I shouldn't be thinking about school. It's such a waste. It's a waste. And so then I go to school this morning with all this inner tension, and you know what the craziest thing is? I was gone for an entire week, and I was expecting a lot of work, because my mom was kind of like, you got to check in with your teacher. She was like getting on my case about getting all my work done, for all my missing work done. So I was expecting a lot of work, and literally probably an hour of work is what I missed. An hour for an entire week of school. So let's say I go to school for 4 hours a day. I missed 20 hours of school. And you know how much work I missed? 1 hour. Like that alone is ridiculous. I'm just sitting in school wasting my day when there's only like 1 hour of actual work. And by the way, the work is like ridiculous. It's stupid stuff. And so I'm okay. So then I go to school. I'm at school sitting there wasting my day again. And I come home and like usual, my parents are like, "Hey, how's your day?" And I was like, "Good." Like that's normal. I always respond that way. And this whole time when my parents are talking to me, I'm just thinking like, I want to drop out. I want to drop out. I want to drop out. And I like had this extreme desire to say out loud, I want to drop out. Like to declare that I wanted to drop out, but I held my tongue because first of all, that was not a good environment to say it because my mom was about to get on a call. And so I didn't want to just drop that bomb. And so I kind of just held it there. But this is something that's been on my mind. And so after that, I was making food, and then it was like minute after minute after minute, this thought was getting stronger and stronger and stronger in my mind. Like, I want to drop out. I want to drop out. I want to drop out. Like, I keep on getting this desire and urge to drop out. And so I go in my room because I can't deal with all this. I want to clear my mind. So I go in my room, take out my journal, and I write I don't remember exactly what I wrote, but I was thinking like, is dropping out of school 10x? Is dropping out of school my next 10x or 10 phase in my 10x growth? Or is dropping out of school going to allow me to 10x my life? Is dropping out of school, but do I really want to drop out of school? Is dropping out of school on my path? And so I wrote down a bunch of different questions relating to that, just to clear my mind, just to release those questions from my mind and write them on paper. And then I just got to the point where this idea popped in my head after I was writing these, probably filled up half of a page of these questions. And this idea popped in my mind that was to write a T-chart, pros and cons. And so I created a T-chart and I labeled the left side pros, the right side cons. And then I labeled it dropping out of school. And so I went through the pro side, and it was, I'll ease up a lot of time, ease up a lot of mind power, brain power. I'll kind of, I don't remember all the stuff I wrote, but I probably wrote 5 items on the left side. And then on the right side, I didn't really know what to write. And then I wrote down possible or unforeseen risks or unforeseen consequences. But I wrote that with a question mark because they're unforeseen. I'm not sure what they would be, and I'm not even sure if there will be any consequences. I'm sure my parents would give consequences, but there was a lot of things that I've done in the past year that, or the only one thing that I can think of, I literally bought tickets to Funnel Hacking Live before even telling my parents, and they were not happy about that. And then but literally after a couple hours of letting it sink into their mind, they were okay with it, and they were actually encouraging me to go forward with it. So that shifted. And so I'm not sure if dropping out of school will be much different, because another thing is, first of all, when I declared that I was not going to go to college for the first time, they were uneasy. Naturally, they were uneasy, but they were okay, well, we'll support you. And they've been I feel in the beginning, they were just extremely tense about that decision. And they were on the surface supporting me, and on inside, they didn't want me to not go to college. And so they were still kind of holding on to that thread. And so they were saying, you still have to apply to colleges. You still have to apply to school when the time comes. And I was saying I'm not doing that. And they were saying, yes, you are doing that. So then to end the argument, I just agreed that I'll do it. And then another thing is that They didn't want me to drop all of my classes to get a half day for this first semester. And they also didn't necessarily want me to graduate early. So those are two more things that kind of, but eventually with time, they shifted and they eased. They were okay with it. And then like just more and more things, like all of these things were originally my parents were not like, didn't want. And then over time they became okay with it. So I'm thinking like, would dropping out of school be any different? Because eventually they allowed me to not even apply to colleges. They were like, okay, don't even worry about it. You don't have to apply anymore. So I'd never applied. And so they're like, all of these things are, I'm like, they're changing their minds. And now they're like encouraging me. And I feel like, so I did just say that they were on the surface. Um, they were on the surface supporting me for college, but not inside. But now over time they've shifted, and I do believe that they are supporting me 100% on the surface and inside. And so I'm not sure, like, obviously dropping out of high school is a lot bigger of a deal than all of the other things. It's like the biggest thing, but all of these things were bigger than the last. Like graduating early was bigger than not going to college. Having a half day, having like 4 classes was bigger than like not going to college and graduating early. Like all these things were bigger than the last. So the next step is dropping out is bigger than graduating early. And so I'm thinking like let's go back to the T chart. On the cons side, I wrote unforeseen consequences. So I'm not sure if I'd get kicked out. I don't think I'd ever get kicked out of my house, but I'm not sure like the stress or the struggles, because another thing, okay, so one thing that I wrote down, so I wrote down 2 things on the con side of the T chart. I wrote down unforeseen consequences with a question mark, and then the second thing I wrote down was my status will lower. I will lower my status amongst low status people, average people. So my status will be dropped lower amongst average, everyday, ordinary people. So amongst people who have like college degrees, amongst most people who are part of the system. Like people are like, oh, where'd you go to college? And then if you say you didn't go to college, they're already like, okay, you suck. Like they're already thinking badly of you. And so if you're like, oh, I didn't go to college, and then they're like, oh, where'd you go to high school? And you're like, oh, I dropped out. Like if you say I'm a high school dropout, that's already, you're lowering your status amongst those people. But that's a con, but it doesn't really matter, because another part of the like 10x process is your life and the people around you are going to be radically different. So these like these ordinary people won't even, like, their opinions won't even matter. And it's like once you get to like, once I achieve my goal of being a surfer with the 10x surfboard, 2 comma club X surfboard, then I will like, it doesn't matter if I'm a high school dropout. Like there's no, like that does not matter. And even now, if I dropped out of high school right now, I still don't think that it would matter much. And I'm not sure, I don't think that it would be like on my conscience at all. Like if anything, it would just completely liberate me from, like, it would just give me infinite freedom. And so I'm thinking like, these low status people won't even matter. And then it's also like when those speakers, when those like 4 speakers were on stage and they were talking and they said they were high school dropouts, I was like, I didn't think badly of them at all. I looked up to them. I was inspired by them. And I've seen this time and time again throughout other people. Like high school dropouts become millionaire. Like that's a flex. Like there's literally one of the hooks, one of the advertisement hooks was drunk high school dropout becomes a millionaire after reading this $4 book. And that was an advertisement for the book called .com Secrets. And I believe it was Dan Henry. Or yeah, I think Dan Henry or Dan Kennedy. I don't even know. I forgot his name, but that guy was he was a high school dropout and he became a millionaire. And so that was like a flex. Like they leveraged that as a flex. Like Iman Ghatzi is a high school dropout, and that's a flex. Like all of these things are like the high school dropout status is a flex if you're a millionaire. And so I truly cannot see any cons other than the backlash I'd receive in my family, but I don't really care about that. If dropping out of high school will get me on the fast lane or fast track my life and allow me to achieve my goals quicker, better, more efficiently, then I 100% want to take it. And so I don't know what I want. I don't know what to do, to be honest. On one hand, I literally only have 2 months left of school. Like it's October 2nd right now. And I graduate on like the last day of school is like December like 16th or something around that day in December. Like halfway through December is the last day of school for me. So I literally only have 2 months of school. I've already done 2 months of school. Like I'm halfway through my senior year, basically a little bit under halfway through. I'm about to hit like Q2, but it's like all of this, like this is just what's on top of my mind. I'm not sure where to move forward, if I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know if I should just pull the trigger and drop out. I don't know how that would look like. And I think the reason why I'm scared to do it is because I don't know. It's like fear of the unknown. It's like so many unknowns on the other side. I don't know how my life will change. Because if I'm going to be completely honest, my life will change, like will not change at all unless my parents react drastically. Like that's the only way that my life will change. Which I think they'll react drastically at the start, but I don't think that I'd get kicked out. And so I'm just thinking like, this is what I really want to do, drop out of school. And I don't know, I'm just in a very kind of tense state where I'm kind of at a crossroads where I think that this will absolutely change my life, but I'm not sure exactly how, like, I'm not sure what to do. Which, talking about this out loud, the obvious answer, like the answer seems obvious, just drop out. But which leads me to another thing is, should I declare I am dropping out of high school? Or should I say, can I drop out of high school? Which I feel like the first, like what is ladder? Ladder is the second one. And then, the former, I feel like the former would be a better option for like having sternness. But the last time I will drop out of high school will be a better option for actually getting the result. But I feel like if I say the second one, then I'll get a no, but it will, if I say the first one, I may get like bad rep, or I don't even know. I'm gonna stop talking about that. But if you guys have any input, definitely, if you guys have some input, which I actually, no, don't even give me your input, because this has to be a decision made by me. I have to make all my own decisions. And I could actually, if you think that there are some things that I need to know that I'm unaware of, then definitely send that information over at james@ascendmomentum.com through email, because these decisions, like decisions you have to make yourself. Like that's why we have our own heart and mind. Like if you pass on decision making process, if you outsource it, then you outsource your life. Essentially, you're basically outsourcing your destiny. So I have to make this decision on my own because this is a monumental decision in my life. But I would like to have information to help me make that decision better, because if there's information I'm missing, then I definitely want to take that in consideration, because I learned in The Way of the Superior Man, like the man needs to make the decisions. Do not let the woman make the decisions. Like the woman wants to be led. The woman does not want to make the decisions. She wants the man to make the decisions for her. But with that said, you should take into consideration any input from the woman and then make your own decision from there, considering that input. But don't make your decision based off that input. Make it in consideration of that input. Just consider the input and then make your own decision from there. So that's it for that talk. That literally took the entire 40 minutes to talk about that. Like I started this episode by saying I'm at a crossroads, and that's the crossroads. Do I drop out or do I not? Like that's the crossroads. I don't know where to go, but I feel like my vision will be clearer over time, because I want to talk about the 10X book, because naturally it's on the top of my mind, and whatever book that I'm reading at the time is going to directly influence the outcome of the podcast, which is evident because if you look through my channel history, like I have 8 episodes of the Transurfing Principles, which that reminds me, I have another one that I need to record, or another one or two, because I have, I'm pretty sure before I left, I wrote out all of the Transurfing Principles, or I wrote out most of them or my last review. So I might have episode 9 of that. So, that might come out soon. Probably not till like, Thursday my time. So probably not till like 5, maybe like 3 or 4 days. But it heavily influenced. So whatever I'm reading at the time, because I read Transurfing for like 2 months. Actually, I read Transurfing for, I think, the entire time that I was podcasting until just recently when I stopped. And so whatever book I'm reading at the time influences the podcast. And right now I'm reading the 10X is easier than the 2X. So that's what I'm reading. And one thing that I was thinking about is one kind of easy way out, which I'm not sure if it's the easy way out or it's just the best way to do things, is whenever you're reading a book that will like radically change your like decision making worldview and just kind of morph your mind into a better, you are kind of like on the edge of making certain decisions, like I am right now. And so let me give you an example. When I was first reading Transurfing, I was kind of on the edge about like different things. I can't think of anything right now, but my mind was kind of like weak. Like these Transurfing principles were weak in my mind. And as a result, they were weak in implementation. So I didn't really implement that strongly. And so I had 2 options. One was to use my willpower and try and implement it stronger, which would take a lot of effort and concentration. I'm not sure if I would even do it. And 2 was to just read it again and get it stronger in my mind. And so I took the second option because it was easier. And so I'm kind of taking that same approach with the 10X is easier than 2X. Like right now, I still have the 2X mentality, obviously, because I'm still in high school. And I still have the 2X mentality for a lot of things. Like one of the things that he talked about in Benjamin Hardy's speech at Funnel Hacking Live, he was talking about do not form your present using the past, but form your present using the future. So use the future to form your present, not the past to form your present. Like, don't use the past to form your present, but do use the future to form your present. But I was always using the past to form my present. I was using my past decisions to form my present life. And what got you here won't get you there. So what all of the the mindset, worldview, attitude, skill set, and knowledge base that got you in this current position will not get you to your 10x goal. Like, it will not get you to your next goal if it's big enough. So you have to kind of let go of the old and then embrace the new. And so this is the thing that I'm thinking about when reading this book. I was thinking, okay, this is definitely the mindset. And I was thinking about this before I even started reading the book. Literally right after that speech, I already made the decision to read the book, and I made the decision to read it multiple times, at least once. Definitely not 2 times in a row, but I will read it. I definitely intend on reading it again in the future. Similar to how I read Transurfing 2 times, but not directly after. And I definitely plan on reading Transurfing a 3rd time, but not anytime soon, because I have other books on my list. But this thought that I'm not going to be able to make these decisions, or I definitely can make the decisions, but they're going to be really hard and difficult. And I have to use a lot of willpower to make these decisions and solidify this stuff in my brain and like actually implement this stuff. It's going to be hard to implement this stuff, which is why I'm just going to keep reading. I'm going to take the easy route and keep reading it and then read it again to like strengthen it even more. So then these decisions basically become second nature and they become a part of me, which is why I believe that reading is so valuable, because I don't think you can actually get that value by not reading it multiple times. Or at least it would be extremely difficult, and you have to like radically push through discomfort. So that's why I'm really focusing on just reading it and not making drastic decisions. Like, one thing because my friend is in a very similar position where we're definitely wanting to drop out, but I don't want to make radical decisions unless I'm confident in my ability to do so. Because this decision has been lingering in my mind for the past couple months. Like, I've been wanting to drop out for the past couple months, but it wasn't until literally like yesterday or 2 days ago or today when it got extremely strong. Like, it got extremely strong. And I don't think that I have I definitely do have the capacity to do it, but I don't know if I have the knowledge base or the worldview or the skill set to do it 100% yet, because that will absolutely destroy it. Like, everything I come to see and know again. Like, that happened when I read Transfer for the first time, but now it's happening again. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But another thing I want to talk about, this is extremely important, so listen up. I want to give a backstory. So when I first started reading Transurfing, I was thinking like I developed this high ego, and I developed this kind of very toxic attitude and mindset. Like, I developed this superiority mindset where I learned all this new knowledge, and I realized that no one else really knew it. And so I kind of started judging people internally, not externally, but I started kind of like putting other people down in my thoughts. So I was like thinking badly of other people. And then I was kind of like, in everything that I did, it was this toxic attitude of, that's like not Transurfing, or like I just developed this really toxic attitude. And then thankfully I became conscious of it, and then I slowly started to destroy it. And then I grew, like, now I believe that I'm pretty blissful. Is that the word? I don't even know, but I'm pretty peaceful in my mind, in my thinking, where I take it as fact, or I just take it as is. I accept the situation that not everyone knows about Transurfing, and now I accept that fact, and I'm like, okay, that's okay. They can make their decision, I'll make mine. And now I just don't really worry about other people anymore, and I don't really have this toxic mindset anymore. And then when I learned about the 10x is easier than 2x. We were at Funnel Hacking Live. Me and my friend Franklin were sitting next to each other, and we're watching this, and then we like this radically we got this new information that radically transformed our worldview again, or our mindset again. And so with this new information, naturally our ego started to rise because we had this new information that we didn't have before. And so we thought we were the best. We thought that we were amazing. No, we thought that we were beasts. And so then we started thinking, like, we started pointing things out like, oh, that's 2x. And we started developing this really toxic attitude. We started thinking like, ugh, that's 2x. And then another thing is really toxic. We were watching the 2 Comma Club. So this 2 Comma Club award was on our mind. And we were making jokes because, or my friend actually started this joke, but I maintained it. And in my business incubator class, all of the years prior, or like last year, the number one first place team made $5,000 and in an entire year. So my friend originally made this joke, and because we were at the 2 Comma Club like hangout basically, and then we realized that we had to go back to business incubator the next day. And so my friend was like, we gotta go back to the 2 Comma Club, or not the 2. He said, we gotta go back to the 1 Comma Club now. And so that was a funny joke, but it like spiraled and it started to go further and further. And then we established this very toxic and superior attitude towards literally everyone in that building, but especially in that room. And then when we got into that room, I walked in, and mind you, this morning I was thinking about that, and I was like, I had this inner tension. And I was like, I was talking like, or not, and last night I was talking about, we were saying like, that's 10x, or that's 10x, or that's 2x. We were basically having this toxic attitude, and I started to sense this inner tension. Going back to what I was said before, how I started to actually pay attention to my inner tension now, like my heart, pay attention to my heart. So I sensed this inner tension, but I didn't really realize what it was. And then today, walking into business incubator, my friend was already sitting there, and he gave me this smirk that it was like this smile, and it was like the smile that you develop when you have this attitude of you're superior than everyone else in the room, and you have this high ego. And I'm not trying to paint him in dark colors, because I was doing the same exact thing. I reciprocated it. I like smiled back at him, and I was like, ugh, all these 1 Comma Club. Like, it was a very toxic attitude. And at that moment, after I smiled back and reciprocated, I instantly became conscious. I was already conscious of the inner tension. I just didn't know what it was. And I instantly became conscious of the fact that this was an extremely toxic attitude. And then, my teacher was talking, like he was giving a lecture on like the content for that day. And so I didn't really have time to talk to my friend about it until the end. But the whole time he kept on smirking at me. Like every time my teacher would say something, he kept looking over at me and smiling. And I got like really disgusted. I'm going to be honest. And so, I said to him, I'm not playing this game anymore. And then he was like, yeah, I know, I'm not. Because he thought I was talking about, I'm not playing the 1 Comma Club game. He thought I was still part of the game that we developed of being high ego and superior than other people. And so, but I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about, I'm not playing this game of being superior to other people, thinking that we're superior to other people. And so once my teacher finally stopped his talk, I said to my friend again, because he like looked at me and smiled. He did the smile again, and I was like, no, dude, I'm not playing this game. And he's like, yeah, I know, I'm not playing it either. And I was like, no, I'm not playing this game of. And then I would literally like had this burst, and I was like, I'm not playing this game of thinking that we're superior than other people, like having such a high ego that we're dismissing everything everyone else is saying, and we're like creating so much dependent relationships and excess potential around a simple fact that we got a little bit new piece of information and we haven't even implemented it yet. This is not exact word for word of what I said, but that's pretty much the gist. And then he like went silent naturally because I definitely hurt his ego at the time. And if I was to be in his position, my ego would have been hurt. And so I would have gone silent as well. He went silent, and then we didn't really talk that much for the rest of the period. And then walking to our next period, he said, "Thank you so much for telling me that. Like, I didn't realize I was creating all these dependent relationships." And that is huge. The fact that he was able to just turn it around, like we were both able to just turn it around just like that. That's huge. That is a huge asset or a huge attribute to have, because he actually wrote in the 10x is easier than 2x that one of the psychological flexibility is extremely important. And one of the most valuable skills to have is the ability to accept and incorporate a brand new identity and like implement a brand new identity, because that's all about 10x. You establish this brand new identity of this 10x goal. So right now, my new identity that I'm beginning to establish is surfing as a 2 Comma Club X winner. That's my new identity. I'm trying to excuse me, I have the hiccups. Let me get some water. Okay, so that's the brand new identity I'm trying to establish. And that's like what he said in the book, the ability to get new identities and incorporate brand new identities easily and efficiently is the best skill to have. And like I'm really grateful for today because we realized that. So going back to the story of how he said in the hallway, "Thank you for telling me that," and then I said yes because I'm glad because, or I said yeah, I'm glad that we're conscious of this now. I don't remember exactly what I said, but the important thing is that I said yeah, because we do this a lot. Every time we get a new piece of information or new knowledge or learn a new book that no one else knows about, our egos rise so much, like asymmetrically, like invariably higher than the new knowledge we learned. And that's extremely damaging because our egos rise so much, and then we just create dependent relationships and we see ourselves as superior to other people. So that's an extremely damaging or extremely dangerous mindset that we developed, that we just destroyed. We nipped in the butt just with that second. And I'm very glad because we're getting better at this skill. So when we developed this mindset from transurfing, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm pretty sure it took months to destroy this mindset. But we heard that speech probably like maybe 4 days ago, and then we didn't start like creating this toxic mindset like literally yesterday, because yesterday is when we started reading the book, and we didn't start creating the toxic mindset until yesterday. And so yesterday is when we started doing it, and then today is when we nipped it in the butt. So that's like right there, we turned it around and destroyed that mindset. So that's an extremely important thing to know. Like when you're learning all this new information, when you're learning new books, you have to act with humility, remain silent, and remain neutral in your attitude. Because if you have to keep your ego in check. Keep your ego in check. And I constantly remind myself that, because I am not superior to anyone else. Everyone is equal on an energetic level. And if you create a inferiority or superiority complex, and you declare yourself inferior or superior to other people, you reduce your own influence on the world. And you don't want that if you're trying to achieve greatness, if you're trying to get a lot of goals. You want to have as much influence as possible on the world. So that's one lesson we learned about today. So let's recap. First thing, I'm at a crossroads. What's the lesson? Learn the 10x rule. Destroy all this stuff. And then the second thing is this attitude. Well, I'm pretty sure I missed one, but I don't know. I want to talk about, I just bought a face cam on Amazon. It should come tomorrow. So either episode 76 or 77 will have a face cam on YouTube. And that's going to be huge because right now I have literally 0 subscribers on YouTube and like 70 episodes uploaded. So I have like 70 episodes uploaded and 0 subscribers and probably like 20 views all across the board. So I've got like no reach on YouTube, absolutely nothing. And it's because all of my videos, they're all podcasts, like 1 hour long, and they have no camera. Like there's no camera. And I feel like people on YouTube watch podcasts with a camera, with a face cam. So expect to see that in the future. If you are listening on like a podcasting platform and would like to go watch the face cam, check out the YouTube. It's the same title. It's Ascend Momentum on YouTube. And with that said, to wrap things up, don't forget to download your favorite episodes and subscribe to the Ascend Momentum Show. But before you guys leave, make sure to look up at the sky.